I mean, New York City was so vibrant, on so many levels. I just had this visual, the piano, the thing. Your parents probably had cocktail parties and all kinds of interesting people came through that. You know what I mean? They're smoking cigarettes back then because I grew up 3 hours out of the city, and a lot of the New Yorkers, because my parents were New Yorkers too, they'd come up and it was that scene, and I was thinking, this must happen every day in New York. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
and your dad was at ABC.
Yeah, my dad before that had produced the Merv Griffin show, so he was the executive producer. So his job was procuring talent, going to all these clubs at night and finding these great up and coming comedians and singers, and so he would have these big parties at our house, and it was the comedians that were there. It was pretty staggering, and I remember meeting Dick Gregory and George Carlin and Dick Shawn, and it was just endless. And then there was the singers, and there was always someone in that crowd who was an exceptional piano player who could play any song, and they'd all sit around singing show tunes and drinking and smoking. It was the Mad Men era, which was great. It was insane and toxic, inappropriate most of the time, but it was also exciting. There was something for me. It was like that sound of, the hum of people and music and enticed me.
Time to go to bed, John. I don't want to go to bed.
Yeah. And I'd wake up in the middle of the night, or for me, and they'd be going at it, and I would just lie under the piano. I just sit there. And so I was like with my, I just remember sitting under the piano and listening to these songs. And so, yeah.
But that's a big influence. Everything you said, man, is like, first of all, it sounds like you came into life with this curiosity, because when you're starting to, at that young, switching left and right. You already had in you, but all of it came together. But now, like today, though, this is a tough question. I hate when people ask me this. Today, is it touring or the studio? You like both, right? You've got to like both.
It's funny. I was having a conversation with a friend on the way down here, and it's today, like today, like being in the present moment, and not worrying about touring, not worrying about what's coming up or what I've done or where I'm going. And, of course, Watching the Wheels comes on the radio, the John Lennon song. And it's like, that's the perfect song to, to express that, in the sense that, detaching from it all. Like, what does it all mean? And so for me, what it all means is, I'm trying to get to this place of, it's doing nothing, in a sense, where it's kind of, I know I'm getting Zen here, but it's in the sense, the more I do nothing, then I'm staying out of expectations. I'm not worrying about, am I going to get mine, or, then I don't get to fuck them.
Yeah.
I don't get, if I'm staying in the moment and in the day, and then I'm, what are the expectations or planned disappointments, so the less I'm worrying about that session coming up, or the writing thing, or what's going to happen to the record, or what's going to happen, with the tour. And so, so then when I do show up, because you have to show up, that's about life, you have to be you have to be accounted for and responsible, in what we do.
Yeah.
Otherwise we wouldn't been able to do it as long.
What's the point?
Well, but also people are counting on you.
Yeah.
But then, listen, you and I, in a sense, are in a service business. There's the joke where, sometimes you're just the tambourine player, and then the joke is, we'll play the shit out of that tambourine, be the best tambourine player. So a lot of times our job is to show up and not, sometimes facilitate a session or a writing session, or be of service to that person, so be a healthy conduit, a catalyst to bring out the best in that person. And you and I, we've literally been on stage together where we're supporting an artist. Yeah. We've been in the studio where we've got their backs. so they can fumble and fall and make mistakes. And we're like, we got you wherever you want to go.
That's what producing is. You're not only doing that, it ain't about you. It's not about, as I say, it's not about me. It's about we. I mean, you have to deal with the artist, and each one is quite different. And that's your talent. I've seen you in the room, but you're dealing with every musician. Everybody in that room is the best at what they do. And you're the guy, you have to step out of yourself, but you're not a pushover, never a pushover. You push John Shanks, he's going to push back. But you were meant to be a producer because you know how to serve, and lead. You're like a team player and the team leader.
Well, there's times to push and there's times to let things flow, So I can do a lot by doing nothing at times. And then, you realize that it's interesting because now it's my studio that I'm in most of the time. And, it's, you don't want to waste time, but what's interesting about songwriting or making records, when things start taking a long time, it's because you see people's, I don't want to say bullshit come up. You see their insecurities or their fears. And sometimes it's really important to, especially now, we're not on tape anymore like we used to be. So that was a performance. We had to be like on, like, where do you want me on the click? And yes, there is a bit of that still. Time is so important, where how you push it or relax on it. But the other thing is giving somebody the dignity of their process, but also moving it along, because of digital recording, you can overthink something to the point where nothing happens. Or I see people, they're like, well, and I'm like, we can mute it. We can erase it. Go for it. Dare to suck, dare to dream.
You ever have anybody go like, well, can't you fix it?
Well, yeah.
But you can't, as with tape, we couldn't, especially drums. Oh my God, the pressure is like, you really need a full take. You can do a few fixes, but with Pro Tools.
Listen, I've had it where the click is going. I was recording this band in the 90s, and the drummer would stop. But the band is, I'm like, but the click is, and it was a great take. I'll let the cowbell go for another 2 minutes. And he's looking at me through the guts like, I'm like, no, my buddy, we're going to punch in on this take. So I'm like, sorry, we're going to keep going. And because there was a beautiful energy that was happening, and he got into fear and a doubt. And just because he missed a fill, I remember talking to Keltner, and he said, well, if you listen to the last fill going in to the last chorus of Whatever Gets You Through the Night, I make a mistake. I drop like a stick and I fumble into the fill. I'm like, there's no way. He goes, yeah, listen to it. I go, I've heard that song 1,000 times, and sure enough, so I sat with him and we played it, and he goes, right there. I'm like, oh my God, yeah, that's a mistake. And he said he begged John Lennon to do another take, and they did.